people to join in. First of all, I hope everyone is enjoying Sydney Build Expo today and having some knowledge creation from the booths and this multidisciplinary construction industry is guiding everybody. Today's workshop, it's a small workshop. I wanted to keep it really concise and into a smaller chunks because it's all about time efficiency, and we talk about process automation. What process automation has done in last couple of years, or maybe a decade or so, it has transformed not only the construction industry, but all the other industries around it. By automating the processes, now we can got our hands to the big data, and by transforming all of that data into meaningful information, we now can do a lot of new wonders. We can reach out to different places within no time. The time of using your time to find out the maps is now on your smartphones. You can use your smartphones. So that's a simple process automation of reaching from one point to the other by not looking at your maps. And that's just one part of process automation. Guiding yourself to a point by just looking at a weather forecast of what to wear and when to wear is another part of process automation. You look at the weather forecast and it guides you what you really need to wear tonight or what you really need to wear today. So a process automation within the construction industry as well is just leading the way of time saving. And I would say time is the money, and time is the biggest commodity today, along with data. That's exactly what it is doing. So automating any process will eventually save your time and create efficiency. It will make you focus on the things you really wanted to do rather than focusing on the blur around your processes. Taking some of the automation in the health sector industry where I belong to, I come from emergency management sector, and I'll detail who I am in a minute. The automation of the processes has changed lives. It has saved lives, and it will continue to do so in just the health sector industry. But eventually we'll talk more about how the construction industry is evolving and adapting to process automation. Who am I? I'm Rashid, founder and CEO of Evacuation, an emergency management solution using process automation. One of the most compliant industry in the world is emergency management because of climate change, Paris Agreement, and a lot of SDGs have been impacted because of emergencies. So that's where I live, breathe every day. I was nominated as a top 100 Australian professional for 2021 because of my work in emergency management space and the process automation and bringing it to life of what we can feel and achieve in emergency management space. I was a finalist for the CEO magazine. I attended a month and a half ago. I came to the event as well. I am a finalist for the Startup Executive of the Year by the innovative solution I have brought to the world. And I'm a member of United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction, which is the biggest forum in the world to address disaster risk reductions. My work in there is part of the ARISE, which is the corporate sector and the private sector for United Nations, and which helps them understand where the corporate lies and how the corporate can help build the country, the nations, the governments, and help solve problems for the people in emergency management space. So let's talk about a little bit about process. I actually went really down at the granular level of what process means to us. A process is a breakdown of your workflow, how you do things every day. It could be a process in your home, how you enter your home, how you switch on the light. It could be as simple as that process. It could be within your construction space, how you lay out the bricks, how you draft, how you project plan building a house or building a space. All of that is part of your process, it's part of your workflow. When I talk about the health sector, how you go into a health place or a medical center and get yourself checked, that's a simple process as well. In this world, we are actually navigating through all these new means of how we have automated those processes. How you can, today you can actually call up because of what happened in COVID. You can simply call up your doctor and get the advice or prescription as an SMS. That's a process automation in the health industry. In the construction industry, how you get to a place, how you get your workers to a place and get your work done. You can allocate time and resources and blur all the paperwork around it. Getting to the permits, how you get to the permit, you can automate those processes as well. So this is just one part of it. Because I work in the finance and IT sector as well, so from the finance perspective, how you get a loan approved, that's a process. You go to a bank, you apply for a loan, they thoroughly check all of your credentials and the finances, and then they approve or whether decline, whether you are eligible for a loan or not. All these processes are simpler workflow. Within the construction industry, that's where we're going to talk more about it today. There's a range of multiple processes. How you get your workforce from one point to the other. How you manage those breaks from the workforce implementation and management perspective. How you manage all that. How you control your health and safety element of your workforce. How we are looking into that. So if the people who are sitting out today, there's chairs and desks around us today, if we get the right sensors on the right places, we can tell how people's posture is telling us multiple things from health and safety perspective. How we can improve that. But that's just the part of the process. And what is automation? Automation is the evolution of that process, the digitization of your process. Or it could be remediating your process with something else. Changing a process in a way that it looks more time efficient today. By sending a job to your construction worker through an SMS. Checking his health and well-being rather than calling them up and helping or setting up a call center to call your workers. You can simply send an SMS. There's a messaging services systems in place right now. There's a lot of systems in place today which will help navigate through the processes and help you save time by just automating a single bit and piece of it. Let's talk about process automation now. Now we understand what process is for the construction industry, what automation means, how both of them have got a clear journey. Within the construction industry, as we will talk more, there's a lot of manual processes which we see. As we enter this conference today or this expo, we saw the people were just simply scanning us. It used to be a registration form, and the same thing used to happen, and maybe it still happens in the workforce management side of construction industry. You go to a site, you have to sign a paperwork. You still need to sign in, sign off. You have to get yourself inducted. So these are all manual processes which can be changed. Who is paying at the end of it? The construction company itself, plus who else? Your user, your client is actually indirectly paying for all of your services. And the time which is utilized just to induct people and to get people on board as a manual process is basically you have charged your client for that. You can go back to your client and say, okay, I have implemented as a construction company, I have implemented a process of just simple sign in, sign off, and the compliance factors around it. and you can save him money. You can save yourself time. You can improve those efficiencies. The logistical changes or challenges, how you move people from point A to point B, how you move your construction material from point A to point B. You can use just the process automation by looking at the maps and see what is the best time of travel of that material, and then how you can store that, where you need to store that. And then by the storing of that particular material, you will save a lot of time. And that time is, in other ways, is your money. Then excessive paperwork. We go through building permits, we go through the architects, planning permits, all of that. This still is a manual process. There is automation of these processes available in the market. It just we need to go and find those right solutions for us, and we go through that process and convert that into a digitized process. There's a lot of councils come to us and they say, okay, can you automate that process, because that's really hectic for them to go through a lot of building compliance things. If that process is automated, an average construction company or an average construction guy or building company will save at least 2 to 3 weeks. That just implementing one automation of process in construction industry. And those 2 to 3 weeks, you can utilize that for your own services. You can improve your business. You can go and see other clients. If you go through that process every year with 10 of your clients, you have saved half a year. And that half a year you can utilize on building more clients, getting to know more businesses around you. Then distributed workforce. Construction is a complicated business. There's a lot of small churning wheels which help navigate through the whole process of building. And the people like you who have been in the industry, you know that it's just not a simple building a house. There's a lot of permits, compliance, planning, project planning. Then comes the mechanical side of it. There comes the builders and tilers and all of them. How you manage your workforce. That still, in a lot of construction companies, is a manual process. If you automate that process, you will save a lot of time and money by just handling your workforce. And poor reporting ability. When I say poor reporting ability, it just does not mean that it's reporting from the work perspective. There's a lot of, because I evolved from the emergency management and health sector side, I see there's a lot of unreported risks within a construction site. A lot of trip and falls never get reported till it becomes, in a couple of years' time, a law case. And then you don't have any credentials to support that you have provided a safe workplace for that particular project. So because of that ineffective reporting can end up in a law court. So if we have automated our processes where reporting is made easy, just that particular part of it, we make it made easy, then at the end of the day you are helping your own workforce. You are helping taking the pressure off them by not thinking all the time, these are the hazards, how can I report it? Will it get fixed? You have a process which will follow of helping navigating through. If a hazard been reported, it was effectively done, the risk has been remediated, and now you got a safe workplace for your workers. Especially in a way, in a time when we're looking at our workforce have been impacted by the pandemic. You really need to nurture your workforce. You really need to look after your workforce from not just from the health perspective, but from their mental health and well-being as well. You need to get that thing reported. The characteristics of process automation. It's fast. It beats a lot of buzz around how there's a lot of noise around the actual process. What you do, because you clear out a lot of noise around your process and get to the bottom of the problem, your process becomes efficient. And by automating that, it's fast. By just going to a construction site or from a construction permit, going to a council to get these permits approved, if you don't have to go to a council to get your permits approved, you're doing it really fast. You're saving your time by just traveling to the council. You're saving your fuel costs. You're giving our climate a healthy environment in other way. It's easy. Once you automate a process, the process becomes easier for everybody to follow. You just need to implement it the right way. That's why when we go through the steps of how we implement a process automation, how we do that stuff, once you get to the bottom of your process, you will see that it will become an everyday practice for everybody. By just going to a site, they don't have to sign the paperwork time and time again. You just go there, scan it, they're already enrolled. We know they have been compliant. We know their health structure, and then simply the process becomes easier and easier. And the bottom line is the financial figure. I speak to a lot of sales guys, when talking about the finances of a company, they say the process automation costs a lot more. But when you look at the bottom line, you are eventually making money out of process automation. It will save you money. Not just by saving your fuel costs, which is just a very minor part of it, by just implementing your right workforce into the right process, will save you a lot of time, will save you a lot of money. A simple example of the process automation in the construction industry. I have already spoken about how it all affects in the process. I think one of hurdle I have seen in the building and construction industry is the labor procurement. How do you procure your labor? How you can come up with a process which is simpler, easier, time effective, efficient, and you get the right workforce to get the thing done. When I was just entering today into this expo, I saw someone who was trying to assemble an IKEA chair. It will take him at least an hour and a half to assemble that chair, because he has to go through every single thing, every single step by step, and he has to learn something new. Good for him. But if he can find the right labor to do that work, it will save him at least an hour and 20 minutes. Because your right labor, the person who can do the right job, can save you at the end of the day. But how would you get to that right labor? That's another question. How would you get to that person? If you automate your processes in a way, even as a small construction company or even as a small contractor, if you automate your process in a way that you find the right person every single time, this will save you a lot of time and effort. Just relying on that extra process will save you heaps of headaches. Then requisition of material. Today we are looking at supply chain deficiency in a lot of places. We see this delayed of materials coming from one place to the other. What it's indirectly doing, it's actually delaying our projects every day. Not just our construction projects, but a lot of other projects, because of supply chain is unable to meet that demand. If you have a process automated about your project, when you're writing down a project, and you automate that process and you add that process into your timeline of events of 3 weeks in advance, you got to order your material, whether it's wood, whether it's steel, whether it's cement, whether it's bricks, whether it's windows, anything. If you automate that process, which triggers the procurement, that will save you a lot of headaches in the supply chain. Just a simple step. Your permits, as I have spoken earlier, your building permits is the biggest headache. When you go through all of them, even if constructing a small hair salon, it takes a lot of people from the health side to approve those permits. If that process is automated from the council side or from other stakeholders, it will save a lot of people a lot of time. And what eventually it will do, it will get a project running, not just a project running, but at the end of the day, a small business is just waiting for that process to finish and start their business. That's where the bottom line is. We are helping through the construction, we are helping a small business to set up, and how we can navigate through those long processes of permits. Then joiners and levers, obviously there's workforce planning comes in, how you see there's a lot of people joining and then they leave, and how you manage all of your workforce. And then you go through the same process again of getting that person compliant. Because I have seen there was in the construction side of it, the new construction code is coming, which will have a lot of implementation on the compliance of your workers. How we manage our workforce today, we might not be doing the same in a couple of years' time. Reason being is the process automation is taking this industry by storm, and they will automate all those processes, which will save a lot of time. So look around on the teams, on the effective management of these processes. There's a lot of companies around. You just need to go and find them. And today, when I was walking through this expo, I found there's a few companies around who are doing a lot of process automation. They really need to be heard from that perspective. They really need to be seen, because they will save you a lot of time. Obviously, the targeted risk monitoring, we talk about the risks of our workforce from health and safety perspective. A lot of building companies collapsed because they did not have a proper process to manage their workforce from a health and safety perspective. They don't understand. And if we get to the gadgets, and I believe almost 90% of our people wear the gadgets, or they have a smartphone in their hands or in their pockets. A simple process through your smartphone can help save you in a longer run and save these construction companies going through bankruptcies and a lot of health and safety suits. Because if you look at your health and safety and managing your environment through a proper process, and you automate that and then help get the guidance from it, it will save you a lot of headache at the end. The faster processes save days. We talk about the time and the delays while using a process. What eventually we get to through these automation or digitization of these processes is we get to better data. There's more structured data now starting to filter through your process automation. There's a lot more people start to understand the wise use of your gadgets. Getting to a doctor who's going to take your measurements for the day is not really an efficient way, because what you're holding in your hand through this gadget, you got data worth sitting in there for 2 years. It's monitoring your health every day. It's monitoring your health habits every day. The same thing can happen in the construction industry. You can help monitor the health and well-being of your workers every day because you are collecting data. By getting them on board, getting them off board through a proper process, it tells you that your person who attended your site today, yes, he was vaccinated, he had the flu vaccination taken, he was completely compliant through the new COVID regulations or the new NCC, the National Code of Construction, which is coming. He's fully compliant according to that. He got his license checked. He got these proper licenses to do that work in that space. It will save you a lot of time, and that better data will eventually help you get your process automated pretty quickly. Then you got a better governance over it. You can manage your workforce in a lot better way because you got better governance coming from those processes. You have a quality assurance by looking at just that coffee shop in front of us. If someone is making that coffee and a machine is making a coffee, that's a process automation on its own, right? So a coffee machine will always create the same set of coffee. If you put the right capsule in there, it will eventually create the same coffee time and time again. That's your quality assurance because it has been proven. So every time, if you have automated a process, it will give you the same result every single time. If you have quality assured it and audited it properly, then also creates a visibility for your workforce, for your processes, and you can see it from end to end. Maybe let's just take a small use case today of the processes we work on. What are the processes? Within the process, what you do, what are the steps we take today to help understand how you automate a process? This could be a process going into your lounge room and just turning on the light. It could be a process of getting your workforce or the person who's going into your workplace and getting tiling done. It could be their process. But there's a steps which will help you learn how you can automate a process. It could be a simpler process. You could have done it ages ago, but just because you don't understand those steps, you might have navigated through the manual processing and handling. The first step is to understand your process from a macro level. You need to get out of that process first. You need to look at from a distance as of how your process works end to end. Like entering this expo today, if I am doing a manual check-in for that process, I will never understand that process unless I get myself out of that operation, sit behind and see, let me think about how this whole process works in. The person comes in, he goes to a booth, he starts writing his name, his phone number, his email address. Then he starts writing what time he checked in, whether he's compliant, whether he's registered for the expo or not. That's just understanding that process from a macro level. You look from a distance to the whole process. Then you break down your process. Of every single step of that process, you break down from, yes, how I parked my car, how I came upstairs, I came to the booth, I wrote down my name, my email address. So nulling it down to that every single part of your process, you need to break it down to smaller pieces. It's exactly the same as we eat. We can't eat the whole chunk. What we do, we break down in the plate and then we break down again in our mouth. So that's a process. It's a simple process, right? But understanding that, breaking it down to small fragments, it makes us easier to absorb it, to understand it, and our body to understand it if we talk about food. Then we talk about what's the time effort. And you can do a cost benefit analysis, a simple cost benefit analysis of if we check in those 10,000 people, I'm not really sure about the number, I think it should be touching down to 10,000 plus people in the expo today. Around 4,000? 20,000. For 2 days. Yeah. So the number of people who are coming in, if they are checking in manually, there will be queues up to the Darling Drive for the people to enter. There will be a lot of booths up here waiting for the people to turn up. Just because that process was so manual, it will take people ages to come in. But as we came in, we had an app. If we're not registered, we just go to the app, we just register ourselves. That the digitalization of that process makes everyone's life so easy. And you can jump in within no time. It took us hardly 30 seconds. Maybe 30 seconds if you're registered already. It took you 5 seconds or 10 seconds to get an entry to the expo. So you do those cost benefit analysis. To set up an event like that, this would have cost millions and millions of dollars. But if the work is not done at the front of that place, that has already, in 2 days, there is 16 hours of the workshops and the booth time. And if we just have a smaller multiplication of the time, this conference is $125,000 an hour. I'm just saying it out loud. If it's $2 million, it's worth way more than that, but I'm just talking about the cost benefit analysis. But if there's a lot of people waiting out there, we have already wasted $125,000 every day by an inefficient process, and we haven't automated the process. But just because doing that, we are getting more and more people in really quickly, and that's what the cost benefit analysis of any process will do. Then identification, which part can be automated. The process automation is a huge industry, but understanding which part you can automate is very, very important. You can't automate everything, especially in the construction industry, because there is a lot of knowledge and skill of the construction workers. You can't automate that. You can gather the knowledge from it. You can put a robot to do cutting for your tiles, but a tiler will have a lot more skill how to balance the whole floor. So the skill of that labor is not going anywhere. So the process automation, you need to find out which process within that part of the big process, which process you can automate, which part of the process you can automate. You can't automate the whole process. Maybe you can. With the IT and digitization, there's a lot of process you can automate fully, but not all of them. But you need to find out which part you can. Then comes the step number 5, which is implementing and testing the automation. Then you implement that automation of that particular part of the process. You get to the bottom of what can be automated, whether helping picking up that stuff for the tiler, will it help him save some more time as compared to handling it manually, tile by tile, from one part of the construction site to the other part of the construction site? How long it takes them to take a break? Whether we got the right food places, like if you're building a big construction complex, like a big hospital, where you have multiple units working in different directions. The process automation will tell you exactly where you need to have your coffee shop or where you need to have your amenities to save the time of the travel by just looking and analyzing the data and the part of the process. Then getting the feedback on the improved automated processes. So once you have automated a process, get the feedback, get a feel from the user experience. Get people to experience it. Get their feedback. Maybe they need to do something extra in there. Maybe it's there's a little more improvement needs to be done by understanding the process. Maybe we just need to scan our mobile phones. We just don't need to write down our email addresses. We just scan it and go. Like LinkedIn, earlier we we have a LinkedIn strategy session here where a lot of people are not carrying your visiting cards anymore. And why would you? There's less paper being generated because you go into your LinkedIn, and if you wanted to share your credentials with somebody or you wanted to share your profile with someone, you just go onto LinkedIn, click onto your access code and just show them. They can scan it. That's it. They got your name, they got your email address, they got your contact details, they know exactly who you are from professional perspective, and here you are, you're linked. By rather giving them a card and then they have to manage a card somewhere, they have to keep that card somewhere, or need to take a photo of that card and then process that data and then understanding, oh, where did I get that information from? A lot of people forget these things in a longer run. That's a automation of process. So by just exchanging that communication, initial exchange, then implement further changes after getting the feedback from your user and how his user experience was. After getting that feedback, implement the further changes. What you can improve now and how you can improve it. How you can further automate that process to a level where eventually you will get to a level where you can eventually fully integrate and automate your process. And then do regular quality checks. Don't just leave your process, an automated process, sitting out there doing works for you. Always quality check. That's another flaw you can, if you're working in the industry, you can find out that flaw. You say, a lot of people do a thing and then they simply forget it. How many times we have implemented a business or building management system within our houses? These houses are becoming smarter and smarter every day because of IoT of things. But how many times we actually go in and test those processes? Whether your microwave is working fine, whether your microwave is connected, whether your hot water boiler is connected. I can actually talk through my iPhone. Through my iPhone, I can give an order to my hot water system to turn on when it's needed. I can tell my steamer to kick in before I get to my kitchen. 2 minutes of me waking up, juggling up myself out of the bed, I order the hot water to be ready for my coffee. That's just automation. But how you quality control those things? You need to do the regular audits on your processes to make sure they are proving themselves efficient time and time again. Thank you very much for listening in to me. The people who lately joined in, I'm Rashid Khan, founder and CEO of Evacuation, which is an emergency management solution and process automation. And what we do through process automation, we save lives, we save time, and we save money. Thank you very much.